attitude of forgiveness and why it helps one make progress. So we had discussed how forgiveness is like letting off stones that you're carrying on your back, and then it allows your journey to be lighter, more focused. We had spoken about freedom, that what is the nature of freedom, what is the intrinsic quality of the jiva with respect to freedom. And then we had concluded that actually the nature of the jiva is that of dependence. Jivera sarup hoye, Krishna nityadas. That's the nature of the soul. That it derives its freedom from dependence. That once it understands that it is dependent, then it basically achieves freedom because it is established in its constitutional position. Otherwise, the freedom it's just a very transient mirage. We think we have it, but the more we go after so-called freedom, the more restrictive we become. Then we spoke about faith, that the nature of faith is that it requires one to completely trust the source. That faith by nature is not something that is empirically validated. It could be, but that's not the nature of faith. The nature of faith is that you trust. You trust implicitly. And then we talked about fearlessness last week. That how fearlessness is a quality that we all aspire all the time. It's the absence of fearlessness, which is fear, is the most intrinsic quality in the material world. So we had said of the 4 activities, ahar bhaya and eating, sleeping, mating and defending. Ahar bhaya, nidra, maithunya. The most fundamental of it is bhaya, fear. So out of fear of losing our vitality, we eat. Out of fear of losing our existence, we procreate. Out of fear of exhaustion, we sleep and take rest. And the nature of fear is that it just builds upon itself. It does not necessarily have a foundation. It just builds upon itself. So today I'll speak on a topic that was recommended by Shivani, Akshay Prabhu, that actually fits very well into this theme that we have been talking about, which is understanding ourselves from a more contemporary perspective, because we hear all the time about the greatness of Krishna. We hear all the time about the need to practice spirituality, and that's where we all aspire to go. But a journey has 3 aspects. It has a starting point, a travel part, and a destination. So the destination, of course, is what starts the journey. We get aspired that, yes, I want to go to this place, so we start the journey. But then how to get to the destination? Right? When you go to Google Maps, then it says what's your current position, where do you want to go, and then it gives you several routes, and then you pick the route you want to take. So things like faith and freedom and fearlessness and forgiveness, these are aspects that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. These are things that define our day-to-day existence. We deal with fear on a constant basis, different kinds of fear. Now there's a lot of fear of health. Even if the health fear is not there, there are other fears that are concomitant to our existence. Similarly, we deal with issues of forgiveness, we deal with issues of faith or lack of faith. So I wanted to basically now take us on the journey now, that this is where we are, this is where we want to be, and let's start walking. Let's start going towards our destination, which is the association of Krishna and his devotees. So in order to do that, I wanted to share a pastime from the Bhagavatam, which I'm sure all of you have heard, but I will share it again because it's sweet to hear it. And the pastime is relevant because it exemplifies determination, which is the topic of our discussion today. So it appears in the 4th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the pastime of Dhruva Maharaj. So, as you know, Dhruva Maharaj, he's the son of, so he appeared many millions of years ago in the kalpa of Swayambhavu Manu, first day of Brahma. So a long time ago he appeared, and his father Uttanpad was the son of Swayambhavu Manu. So when Lord Brahma appeared, then Brahma's son was he had many sons, but one of his sons was Swayambhavu Manu, who was specifically given this service of being the progenitor, the Prajapati for humans. The Prabhupada says that the word Manav comes from Manu. And we are all, in a way, descendants of Swayambhavu Manu. So Swayambhavu Manu had 2 sons, Maharaj Uttanpad and Priyavrata. So Priyavrata, when he was young, he was not interested in, even though Maharaj Manu is the ruler of the universe, but Maharaj Priyavrata was not interested. So he was interested in devotional service. So he kind of gave up his responsibility of ruling, and he went into a mood of renunciation. Then Maharaj Uttanpad took on the role of being the ruler. And Maharaj Uttanpad had 2 wives. So his elder wife's name was Suniti, and the younger wife's name was Suruchi. And he had 1 son from each of the 2 wives. So from Suruchi, the younger wife, the son was Uttam. And from Suniti, the elder wife, the son was Dhruva. So as fate would have had it, Maharaj Uttanpad became less and less favorable to his older wife. And he would spend most of the time in the association of his younger wife, and he was completely attached to her. And because he was attached to her, he was also attached to her son. Now both Dhruv and Uttam were sons of Maharaj Uttanpad, but because he was attached more to Suruchi, he was more attached to Uttam. So one day it so happened that both Dhruv was the older son, so both the sons were playing with their father, and Uttam, he ran and he got onto his father's lap, and his father was doing the kind of stuff that fathers do to small children, was tickling him and making him laugh. So Dhruv was also a small boy of 5 years at the time, and he also went there and started wanting to get onto his father's lap. So Uttanpad at that time was in the palace of his younger wife. He was with Suruchi. And Suruchi got very angry when she saw that Dhruv was trying to get onto the lap of his father by displacing her son, Uttam. And she forcibly took him and pushed him aside and said that you cannot get onto this lap. And Dhruv, being a child, the first thing they ask is, why? And he says, why not? He's my father. And Suniti, because of her intense attachment to her son, she developed a natural antipathy to Dhruv. Even though Dhruv was a child, Indulekha, do you want to mute yourself? There's a lot of noise coming from your...
Oops, sorry.
So, so she had... Dhruv was a child, and she was she was like his mother. So she didn't have anything per se against him, but the fact that he was in competition with her son made her naturally averse to him. So she said you can't get onto your father's lap because you're not born from me. And the only way that you can become qualified to sit on your father's lap is that you pray to Lord Vishnu. You pray that you die. And then after you die, you take birth from my womb. And then you will be qualified to sit on the lap of your father. Now, she didn't use these specific terms, but when you read the message that she was giving between the lines, this was essentially what she was saying. Because she said that you have to take birth from my womb. Now, Dhruv is already there. How can he take birth from her womb? The only way that he can take birth from her womb is if he dies, and then in his next life takes birth. So it's a very harsh and a severe thing, and it hurt Dhruv very deeply. So he went crying to his mother, Suniti, and Suniti's instructions to Dhruva are they're like instructions to us, because just like Dhruva was frustrated in his attempt to acquire something, he was insulted. He was denied what was his right. And because of that, he was feeling a lot of anguish. That's a situation that we face on a day-to-day basis. That we have aspirations that are either partially or completely not fulfilled. There are things that we do that sometimes have the opposite effect from what we aspire. So Dhruv went back to his mother, and his mother asked that, why are you crying? And then Dhruv related everything that happened. And then his mother, she says that you should not blame your stepmother. She does not call her stepmother, she actually calls her mother. She said you should not blame her because it's not her fault. The fault is actually mine, that I am your mother. Because you're so unfortunate to have taken birth from me, and because I am not the favored queen of the king, you have been put in such a precarious position. And then she says that, she says to Dhruva, you give up your enviousness to your mother. So see the depth of the instruction that the mother is giving to her son. That this is a 5-year-old child who has been chastised by the stepmother for doing something that comes innocently to a child, wanting to sit on the lap of his father. But Suniti says that don't be envious of your mother. See, it is only because of enviousness that you are angry with her. It is only because of enviousness that you are lamenting. If you accept the fact that everything that is happening to you, and here she is taking joint responsibility because Dhruv is still a boy, a small child, 5 years. If you accept that everything that is happening to you is because of me, then there's no reason for you to be angry. Now, the reason that Suniti is asking Dhruv to give up his enviousness towards Suruchi is because she wants him to accept the instructions of Suniti. So Chanakya Pandit says, he says that there are things that you should accept regardless of the source. Like he says, if there is gold that is in a dirty place, you should take it. Or if there is a qualified woman, but from a low family, you should accept. Or if there is a person who is spiritually advanced, but is of low birth, you should accept. So Suniti says that regardless of where the source is, the advice that she is giving you is the best advice that you can get, which is take shelter of Lord Vishnu. Now she's not saying that you die. So what Suniti says, that you pray to Lord Vishnu that he gives you birth in my womb. So Suniti is extracting the essence of the instruction. So she says, my dear son, you give up your enviousness to your mother and accept her instruction. That only Lord Vishnu can help you. Because of my impiety, I have been delegated to this position of being a neglected wife. Because of your impiety, you have taken birth from my womb. But all that can be easily reversed by taking shelter of Lord Vishnu. So the name or the word Dhruva in Sanskrit means determined. So in Bhagavad Gita, in that verse it comes, right? Jatasya dhruvam mrityur dhruvam janma mritasya cha. Krishna says that one who takes birth, jatasya dhruvam mrityur, is certain to die. And one who dies is certain to take birth. 2 times he used dhruv. So dhruv is something that is certain, or something that represents very, very strong determination. So this is the seed for determination of getting the right instruction. Now, Suniti, she could have done several things. She could have just pacified him and said, don't worry about it. She could have gone and quarreled with Suruchi, or she could have gone and had a conversation with Maharaj Uttanpad, or could have done different things. Now, Suniti herself, even though she's the old wife, in the Bhagavatam it is mentioned that she was still a young girl. So she was very, very young. She's referred to as Kumari. So somebody who was in the teens. But she comes from a family with lot of spiritual understanding. So she sees this as an opportunity to give Dhruv the right instructions, and because it is coming from a source that he trusts. So when Suruchi said, Dhruv did not pay any attention. All that he was focused on was, this is a person who is envious of me. But when Suniti said, then he accepted that instruction, and that was the foundation of the determination. Several times we think that determination is something that we build within ourselves. But actually determination is something that we grow within ourselves. It is something that somebody needs to inspire us. So even in your material pursuits, if you see that areas that you have excelled in are areas in which somebody inspired you. Some point somebody came and said this, either by words or by example. Somebody inspired. And that was the seed of determination that gets planted. And of course we nurtured it. So Dhruva takes his mother's instructions, and then he says, where will I find Lord Vishnu? And mother says that I really don't know. But this much I know, that people who are serious about finding Lord Vishnu head to the jungle. So my dear son, go to the jungle. So this is a mother speaking to her 5-year-old son, who is a prince, that you all alone go to the jungle. And Dhruv, he heads to the jungle. When he is heading to the jungle, so Dhruv goes to, so does anybody know which jungle does Dhruv go to?
Madhuvan.
He goes to Madhuvan, one of the forests in Vrindavan. So when he is heading to Madhuvan, then who does he meet? None other than Narad Muni. So Narad Muni, he talks to Dhruv. He says, where are you going? This is a dangerous place. There are all kinds of animals. And there are people also who eat children for lunch. So why are you just running towards the jungle? So Dhruv, he explains. He said, I'm going to search for Lord Vishnu. And then Narad Muni says that, yeah, it's a good idea. You should search for Lord Vishnu, but you go back home and search for him. Lord Vishnu is present here and there. The jungle is a dangerous place, and you don't have to go to the jungle. I'm a sage. I'm telling you, you go back home. And if you want, I can talk to your father. I'll make sure that he gives you a place on his lap. Now, some of these statements are interpolations. That the acharyas, they extract the mood of the conversation. That based on certain words that are used, Narad Muni is indicating through sanket that he said, don't worry, I can talk to your father. He doesn't actually say, I'll talk to your father, but the mood in which he is talking about, it's indicative. But Dhruv is determined. He says, no, I need to find Lord Vishnu. My mother has told me that Lord Vishnu is found in the jungle. So Narad Muni was actually testing Dhruv. He wanted to see if he's going just because of hut. So children have this, can become obstinate and stubborn. So I think Toys R Us has closed now, but when Dhruv was small, we used to go there, and invariably we would see some kid lying on the floor over there. That I want this toy, and the mom would say, no, you're not going to get it. And the next thing you know, the child is on the floor. So Narad Muni wanted to see if this is just childish obstinacy. So he tries to reason with him that this is not what is meant. And Narad Muni is Narad Muni. When he starts speaking, he speaks with such impeccable logic. But Dhruv remains unshaken. And he says, no, I have to go to the jungle to find Lord Vishnu. Now, Narad Muni then says that, do you know how to find Lord Vishnu? What will you do? Are you just going to walk into the jungle and keep walking until you meet Lord Vishnu? And Dhruv says, I don't know. You tell me. And then Narad Muni says that I will give you a mantra. And you chant that mantra with full faith and complete attachment. And that mantra will guaranteed give you Lord Vishnu. So the mantra that he gave him is the famous mantra that we chant before we read the Bhagavatam, which is the Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, based on the instructions that were given, Dhruva went into the jungle, and then he started chanting this mantra. So that is the second aspect of determination, which is discrimination. So now in this case, Narad Muni gave both good and bad advice. So first he gave bad advice. Go back home, don't worry about it, these things happen. And then he gave good advice. And Dhruv had the discrimination to reject the bad advice and accept the good advice. So once determination has been planted in our heart, it grows through discrimination. That by doing things that will nurture, and by avoiding things that will kill it, one will grow this sense of determination. So many times we have this experience that we make some sankalp, right? We'll get up in the morning and chant our rounds, and then late evening, maybe somebody's on the phone, or maybe you're doing something, and then before you know, it's late night, you sleep late, and the next day not possible to get up. Why? Because that discrimination is not there. That this is what I should do and this is what I should not do. So based on the discrimination, Dhruva, now in case of Dhruva it was the same person. In our lives, there are many people. Some people will give only bad advice. Some people will give mixed advice, sometimes good, sometimes bad. Some people are our well-wishers, they will give good advice. Even our well-wishers might not give us good advice because they give it from their perspective. But as long as we are filtering it through this perspective of discrimination, we will be able to accept the good advice and reject that which is detrimental. So once Dhruva reached in the jungle, then he sincerely started chanting the mantra that Narad Muni had given. And as he chanted more and more, his attachment to the mantra increased. And commensurately, his detachment from the material conception reduced. So it is said that within a short time, he had reduced his eating to 1 time a day. And then he was eating every other day. And then he gave up eating. He gave up even drinking. And then at some point he gave up even breathing. He stopped breathing. Now Dhruva had never been trained. He had no training in the process of Astanga Yoga or Pranayam. His only connection was the mantra. And because he had full faith, that Narad Muni had said that this is the only thing that you will need. With full faith, he was chanting that mantra. And then the process worked all by itself. So Dhruva is a classic case of the potency of the process. Because in other cases, there is mercy, there is association, there may be benedictions. But Dhruva was all alone in the jungle. No association. Nobody else around him to talk. Not even his spiritual master. Whether you consider Narad Muni or Suniti, nobody to give him guidance. The only thing that he had was the process that was given to him. That chant this mantra. And the process is so effective on its own that it does not need anything else. So when we are practicing sadhana Vaidhi Bhakti, that's the only thing that we have, is the process. Now we have supporting angas for the process. We have Vaishnav Sangha, we have Guru Kripa, we have many things, many else. But ultimately, the thing that is purifying us is this process. The chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, the following of the regulative principles, the service of the devotees. So that is the process that is working. Now we don't know how, we don't know where. All that we know is that the process works. So the determination is in following the process. So if you see the commentary on Dhruv, he actually was not even that determined to meet Lord Vishnu. Because once he started chanting the mantra, that became his friend. That became his associate. And because he followed the process delivered. So it is said that in just a matter of 6 months, Dhruv perfected his bhakti to the point that when he stopped breathing, the whole universe stopped breathing. And he was standing on the tip of his toe, and the earth could not bear the weight of his toe on its surface. And the reason is that at that point Dhruv became one with the Lord. So because Krishna is the universal form. When the Virat Roop breathes, then the air in this universe moves. And when Dhruv stopped breathing, then Krishna stopped breathing. So the whole universe stopped breathing. And when Dhruv's toe touched the ground, because he was in contact with Krishna's Swarup, so Krishna is the heaviest of the heavy, Dhruv also became heavy. And then all the devas, they all rushed to Lord Vishnu, saying that you have to please rescue us. Because if he continues like this for even a moment, this universe will not be able to bear the tejas of Dhruv. So then Lord Vishnu, so in that incarnation he was Ajita. Maybe not. I think he was Prishni Garbha in that incarnation. So Lord Vishnu, in the incarnation of that yuga, he went in front of Dhruv. And so Dhruv looked at Lord Vishnu, and he has never studied the scriptures. He does not know how to glorify the Lord. So all that he does is that he sees, he's completely attracted and mesmerized by the beauty of Lord Vishnu. And then Lord Vishnu touches the conch to the cheek of Dhruv. So the conch of Lord Vishnu is said to hold all the Vedas. So Lord Vishnu has Chaturbhuj, it has Shankha, Chakra, Gada, Padma. So 2 are for devotees and 2 are for demons. The Gada and the Chakra is for the demons, and the Padma and the Shankh is for devotees. So by the touch of the conch of Lord Vishnu, all the knowledge of the Vedas manifested in the heart of Dhruva. Not only in terms of Gyan, but realization, realized knowledge. Not just that all the verses appeared, but the understanding of the verses. And then he praises the Lord with really, really eloquent prayers. And the Lord Vishnu says, "What do you want?" And he said, "I don't want anything." He says, "Are you sure? You definitely came here looking for something." And then Dhruva is actually ashamed. He said, "I'm ashamed that I came here looking for." So what Dhruva's aspiration was, he said that I want a kingdom that is greater than my father's. I want a kingdom that is greater than my grandfather. I want a kingdom that is greater than my great-grandfather. So as a child, they say, I don't want 2, I want 5, I want 50, I want 1,000. So Dhruva's was that I want a kingdom bigger than Maharaj Utanpad. I want a kingdom bigger than Swambhavu Manu. And I want a kingdom that is greater than Lord Brahma. His great-grandfather is Lord Brahma. So Lord Vishnu said that you had come here initially wanting a kingdom greater than Lord Brahma. So I grant you the kingdom. And Dhruva is like, no. I'm embarrassed. I don't want it. And then Lord Vishnu said, don't worry. Before taking that kingdom, for 36,000 years, you will rule. You will rule the kingdom of your father. And then you will rule in complete memory of me. You will never forget yourself. And at the end of that time, you will ascend to your kingdom. So Lord Vishnu gave Dhruva the Dhruvlok. So Dhruvlok is a planet that is higher than the planet of Lord Brahma. And when the universes are destroyed, Dhruvlok is not destroyed. Because the planet is spiritual. It's not material. And it is in the Dhruvloka that Lord Vishnu personally resides as Kshodakshaya Vishnu. So Dhruva went back home. After getting these benedictions, he went back home. And when he had departed, his father, his mother, his brother, his stepbrother, they were all completely dejected. Maharaj Utanpad started lamenting over and over again. And then Narad Muni had come and he had pacified them. He said, don't worry, nothing is going to happen to Dhruva. He said he will come back after having personal audience with the Lord. So they were all waiting with anticipation for the return of Dhruv. When Dhruv returns, he first gives obeisances to Suruchi because he considers her to be his path pradaksha guru. And Suruchi, with more affection than she had for her own son, she embraces Dhruv. And Maharaj Utanpad, he is touching various body parts of Dhruv. Did the Lord touch you over here? Did the Lord put his hand on your head? And he's touching his head. Was this touched by the Lord? So the quality of a devotee is that everybody becomes favorable. And the quality of the devotee is that he is favorable to everyone. So Dhruv didn't come back and said to his mother that you said this, now let me give you a taste of your medicine. Or he didn't come back and tell his father, chastise his father. But with lot of humility and genuine affection, he's touching everybody's feet, putting his head on their feet, embracing them, tears of love and affection flowing down his cheeks. That's the quality of a devotee. That's the quality of one who has been touched by the Lord. So determination does not mean that one becomes inflexible. Sometimes we confuse the two. When we say the person is determined, then in our mind we have this picture that this person is determined to get something, and then anything that comes on the way, this person will vanquish it, run over it. But we see that the determination that is there in Dhruv actually makes him much, much more compassionate and loving. In fact, he and Uttam, they grew up to be very, very close to one another. And he takes on the role of being the protector of Uttam. And well, there are many more finer aspects of the pastime. But I wanted to speak about this particular aspect that brings forth the qualities of determination. So we see that the determination in Dhruv, it may have started off in anger or maybe out of grief, but really speaking, it took root because of faith. That he had implicit faith in the instructions of his mother. Then it grew because of his ability to discriminate, and continued because of faith, that he had faith in the process. Then the other quality is fearlessness. That this is a small boy all alone in the jungle, and even when he was eating, he was basically eating leaves. And this is a person who was used to eating opulent food. His father was the ruler of the entire world. And living in the midst of so much of danger, animals, weather, etc. So that quality of fearlessness nurtured his path on determination. And what was the result of it? The result of it was freedom and forgiveness. So that's why I like this topic, because it linked. So we spoke about faith, we spoke about fearlessness, we spoke about freedom, we spoke about forgiveness, and we see that how his journey with determination gave him all that we wanted. So I wanted to stop over here and with a question to you, that in your own journey, and this I'm asking more your journey in Krishna consciousness, maybe we can start off by talking about what are the factors that have increased your determination, and then we can talk about factors that are obstacles. But let's first talk about what are the factors that have served to increase your determination.
First of all, Prabhuji, very nice narration. I didn't know the story at all. Very profound. The best part of the story is or a pastime. What I like that word you used called potency of a process. I mean, even in corporate life, when a process is followed, process is complied, almost the results are kind of guaranteed. So what I liked about it is you talked about a journey. Every journey starts somewhere and ends somewhere, but the end is, if the end is kind of driving aspiration, and then you almost reverse engineer how do you take your journey. And every journey, in my belief, some steps that we need to take, at least 50% of the steps, and have the determination to reach the destination with a complete, up to a point, being not arrogant, but very confident that your process is followed to the core, to the dot. And, even without anybody's benediction or magical power, your trust and faith is so much clear in your head, in your mind, in your soul, that you reach your destination. And whether you talk about a sports, highest nature, Nobel laureate, obviously the greater souls, they all have reached, including Prabhupada. I would believe that they were so clear in their vision, the end state, and then reverse engineer from there and start the journey. And if you don't start the journey by yourself, you will never reach anywhere. You can just keep talking. You've got to follow the process. You can't. There is no choice in any walk of life. And I would not say anything about Krishna consciousness because I'm very low in that. It excites me, but yet I don't understand it. But it draws me into it, but I don't know what it is. I'm starting a journey, but yet I don't follow the process. I'm low in the process, compliance to Krishna consciousness for sure. But there is a desire to do it, but just unable to do it. I don't know why. I have all the excuses, but I just don't follow the process. That's my submission. But excellent story. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing, Prabhu, and thank you for your transparency. I appreciate your transparency. Any other thoughts?
Like the process we continued, like we started and now we are continuing, but it gave us the some kind of feeling of happiness which we didn't got in any material thing. Like we do any service, but in other thing we do, we feel proud or get tired. But when we do Krishna conscious service, we feel so happy and we never get tired. And like we feel that this is the only path we can go for always. Like though we are starting it, but still that's the only path we like and we want to continue and progress in it.
So the reciprocation from the process.
And one more thing is devotee association. Definitely that increases the determination to stay in the path.
Good. Thank you.
And just to add, Prabhuji, on Lalji Prabhu's point, devotee association, I think when we meet in a closer group and we see each other making progress, that also inspires, because in my journey of whatever number of years I've spent under your shelter and in the association of Namaharta group, I feel, as new people come, old people go, and I see a transformation in people, which is very convincing to me that, wow, this process is, something that I have to take on, because I might not feel it in myself, but I sometimes feel it in others. which kind of inspires me.
Hmm. 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 Thank you. So when you see the process working on others, it increases your sense of excitement, your sense of faith in the process. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you for the wonderful class, Prabhuji. And I fully agree with what Rajneesh Prabhu said. Like seeing the character of the devotees, that is definitely one aspect, that inspire me to be that person. That person is not that I replace, but to be like them, like to follow them. But but one more thing that constantly that helped with my determination is, personally, maybe because of my nature, from initial I have that searching tendency is there, like about who I am, kind of. And regarding material pleasures, the result is that I want, but I was never interested in the process or in the aspiration. Like, I wanted to become IAS or, a big position, whatever. That aspiration was never there. I did not find so much sense out of that. That also kind of, when tough time comes, I have to weigh whether this is still worth continuing or trying out. I always get that answer yes, because it's worth because anyway that is not making so much sense, so this is worth giving try. But slowly, like over a period, the happiness factor that is derived within, so that is making me more, this is more worth than that kind of. So for anything for that matter, be it the job life or everything like that, this looks superior to me compared to other things, in spite of my obstacles. They are still there, and that's journey.
Good. Thank you, Prabhu.
I think, Prabhu, for me, I think it's the association with the devotees that makes a big difference. And I take one step forward and two steps back. But in talking to the devotees, it's kind of reassuring to see that perfection is not what we are. I mean, we strive for that, but it's okay to make mistakes, and everybody has similar challenges. So being able to share those experiences, I think, is pretty strong, and it's an impetus to kind of keep going along the journey in spite of knowing that you are not perfect in following the process.
That's a very good point. I remember many years ago, somebody came to our Bhakti Vriksha and came for a few times, and then he said, "I'm really surprised that all you guys are completely normal guys." So when you would see that, we had a job, and not just us, but others who were coming, they had jobs and they had kids and families, and they were interested in cricket or tennis, and they were also, aspiring for spiritual growth. That was a strong, mode of for him to be able to relate. That they are also, they also are walking the similar path, and with slightly different aspirations. Thank you for sharing, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. One thing which kept me going, and also something which I've my mindset had changed since I joined this movement. I think the way I used to see the devotional service is completely changed. So initially, we all kind of came from the same Indian background, where you kind of have to do it, the devotional service, because your parents are saying it so. So if you want to practice it, you actually have to like leave everything and then just like take the renunciation and then all that stuff. Like so, which in your mind seems like a very like different world, right? But like coming here at least it like when you saw like you can actually practice bhakti like devotional service along the material activities. When I see all the senior devotees like you, Mataji, Lalji, everyone around like who are come in the like Namata, everyone is like doing their own service plus they haven't left anything. So that gives you bit of inspirations that and you see like all the devotees have been changed so much like, over the period of time, and also like how much effect this process have on them. So that gives you some inspiration. Okay, like yeah, this and confirmation too about the process that if you stick to it, it's going to change you. Right? So that is something which I want to share.
Thank you, Prabhu. So we have a few minutes. I wanted to hear a little bit about what do we consider as obstacles in our determination.
Probably I would say our mind. That's the biggest one, and we ourselves are the like I think biggest obstacle because and what we get inspired by is like we have to like have our like means control, like we need to control our mind. So that's the I think the biggest one, my opinion.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Yeah, the obstacle, Prabhuji, it's fundamentally it's mind, it's ego, it's ankar, it is it's a few lawyers that exist within the mind which has a counter proposal for everything that you want to do. It don't work. It's okay. It's okay to break the process. What are you going to get anyway? So it's a devil lawyer that exists in the mind is constantly trying to persuade you that just go in the different direction. So absolutely, I think I would agree that it's a very self-inflicted obstacle that really it's an imagination of obstacle. It really doesn't exist. I guess that's my realization a little bit that whenever I try to when I'm able to tackle with it, there's no obstacle. There's nobody standing on the way. Why take the journey? Why do you get up early in the morning? It's Sunday. Let me sleep till 10 o'clock. So it's when you get over that and you see some results, the results are actually very profound because there is a sense of I don't know what is it say, very inner joy. That's my deep realization. That's just phenomenal. It's just difficult to describe. I don't know what does one do to get it. So that's why my little bit of a struggle as to what is the process. And when you get that joy, it is just too much. It is overpowering. You get goosebumps, and yet you feel so beautiful, right? You haven't done anything, but yet I think but I would still believe that there is a greater level of excitement when there is a process. You can't be just all over the place. You can't be a dead wood floating around, just swaying around for anything, for any level you are to attain. So even in this realization of this spiritual path of this Krishna consciousness, I'm sure there are steps. I'm sure there are discipline, which I don't follow. I don't know to that extent. But I'm sure people like you, the devotees like you, who are doing it, there must be a very higher level of excitement. But the excitement does exist.
Thank you, Prabhu. Other thoughts? Yeah, Piyali.
So from my perspective, I think it's guilt that I'm not doing enough. And that also becomes like, when I'm not doing enough, then the inertia part and the guilt part both take over. Like the impetus, the impetus is lost to continue. Because it's always like, okay, whatever I'm doing, it's not enough. Whatever I should be doing more, but I'm not able to do more. So, so why do? Or why do as much?
Also, the driver is coming from a negative place now, instead of it coming from a positive place. If guilt is driving one, then its origin is more. It's more in negativity.
Guilt have gone two ways, right? But yeah. I feel like.
Thank you. Other thoughts?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I think Pat Prabhu summarized it very, very well. So we ourselves are the impediments or the obstruction or whatever you may say. I'm just thinking now, we are being grihastas, doing jobs, so sometimes some of the activities become so important that we struggle to prioritize our work. So I'll just add one point, it's prioritizing our goal of life, what we want to do. That's probably is something if we can put in place in addition to the process that we have, then it becomes a lot easier that yes, this is my first prioritization. Whatever it may come, others can be secondary or tertiary. That's just a thought.
Thank you, Prabhu. Shivani?
Yes, saying about the determination, one thought came to my mind was Prashadam. Prashadam has its own potency, and I'm sure all the Matajis would agree that making Prashadam for Krishna and trying new stuff, especially with a lot of things which you are not allowed to eat outside, that also gives you conviction and more belief in the process to serving the deities, and then in turn, it's a circle, brings you more conviction. And in terms of obstacles, I was thinking that, association, as it has its positive effect, the same way if we are not associating with devotees, you are associating more with non-devotees for whatever reason, your, personal reason, professional life, whatever, that also has an impact.
So the inability. Yes, Akshay Prabhu, go ahead.
So, Prabhuji, I mean, the devotees have described it, but I don't know if this is synonymous. But there's a lot of self-harm, I feel, if I may put it, that goes in. I mean, because in this pastime of Dhruva Maharaj, we heard that it all started with envy from his stepmother, right? But I feel there's a lot of envy, by personal experience I'm speaking, obviously, that blocks the potential to accept what is coming to us through devotees or Krishna. So it's really very disturbing, actually, to understand that, like, devotees, like, at such a pure level, they're trying to, like, completely selfless level, they're trying to tell us something to help us. But yet, why do we not take it?
Thank you, Akshay Prabhu. So it's very interesting. In terms of the obstacles, I think it's testimony to the fact that we are in the group of practicing devotees, that there is an overwhelming consensus of pointing the finger to yourself. And generally speaking, when you have this discussion, then the obstacles are like, I have a job, I have a family, I have to take care of mowing the lawn, or it's not, it's not that easy. So the general discussion is pointing the finger out. And to be honest with you, I'm more than surprised that right from the beginning, we were saying our biggest obstacle is our mind, The mind is constantly trying to persuade to do otherwise. And this was a very nice statement, that all the obstacles are self-inflicted. They exist within us. And then the sense of guilt that comes within us, our inability to prioritize, to get association, our envy. And, as they say, that the first step, this is our Param Guru Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He says that the first step in solving a problem is identifying a problem. And then he goes on to say, if you identify the problem, then consider the problem to be solved if you are sincere. So if you identify the problem, which we seem to be identifying correctly, that the problem is us. And so we know what work do we have to do. If we did not identify the problem, then we would be running after partial solutions or incorrect solutions. That let me wait till I retire, then I will have more time on my hand, then I will practice spirituality. Or let me wait for the COVID crisis to finish, and then my mind will be more peaceful. And then I remember once I was sharing this with a family member in India, and she was going through a rough patch, and she was like, okay, you practice spirituality and etc. And then I said, you chant Hare Krishna, that will help you. And she said, I can't chant, my mind's too agitated. So let my problems, the problem that I'm going through, let that finish, then I will start chanting. And the nature of life is that there's always something going on. If it's not this, it's that. If it's not that, it's this. So as long as you keep pointing the fingers outside, it'll be difficult to build determination. But like I said, the solution may be several or may be different, but as long as the root cause of the problem is identified, we know who we have to work with. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that in Mana Shiksha, he says that you should beat your mind with a shoe 100 times in the morning, and just to be on the safe side, beat it another 100 times at night before going to sleep. So that's just a way of saying that keep the mind at its place. Now, of course, doesn't mean you take a shoe and beat it, but it just means that you keep your mind where don't give it more gravity than it deserves. And other points that the points that were made in terms of what increases determination, taking inspiration from those who are around us, seeing the process working on others and using that as a catalyst, being pragmatic about it. Like the point was made that does not mean that you give up everything. It just means that you add on something, and everything becomes beautiful. So I think we are about at the time. I'll just finish and see if there are any concluding thoughts or comments from you. Yeah, Indulekha.
May I add something? I was just thinking that ultimately, isn't it the faith being very weak, because of which we're not able to, keep our determination intact, or even though we are able to discriminate, we are still not able to, how should I put it? Yeah, just stay fixed or stay determined in our practices. So it's because our faith in the holy name, and although we know the process works, we've seen devotees around us changing, ourselves changing, so much in our lives changing to the positive, and yet it is not
as strong as it should be in order to just, just go for it, full-fledged. And how should I put it? Am I making any sense? I mean, that's the bottom line. I feel it's just because I can talk about myself, that my faith is weak, and that's why I'm not able to, practice it wholeheartedly.
Yeah, to some extent, it's a journey. So if you see where your faith was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, then that's the efficacy of the process. That it's taking you towards the goal. Maybe you're not there, but at least you have traveled more towards it. And it's perfectly natural for us to want to be there. It's like keeping our eyes on our goal. And that's why Rupa Goswami says, Utsaha Nishchaya Dhairyat. All three need to go together. That the enthusiasm, the determination, and then the patience.
Patience, yeah.
The patience is what will keep us on that path. Because we are reversing something that has been with us in the scriptures. It is said, Nitya Baddhas. It has been with us for time immemorial. But the fact is that it is reversible. So we have that assurance.
That's true. Yeah.
The path, while the starting point is there, the end state is kind of known, that I want to get to that level. In a day-to-day life, let's say I'm practicing tennis, I want to win Wimbledon, I want to win US Open. So some defined end state exists. In this case, in the spiritual, what is the end state it is confusing, number one. Number two, it's probably some state of, I don't know, I'm thinking it's some state of bliss where there is no pain, no suffering, no existence. It's just consciousness, and that's in the middle of, or surrounded by Krishna consciousness, if I may say so. And then everybody needs to start. Everybody needs to be determined, completely firm in that, to reach the destination. Is the path the same? Well, the process is probably is defined in the scriptures, in your own experience, the experience of so many enlightened souls that walked on this world beautifully, and have their own. Each of them probably have their own path. So within the context of this conversation, is the path to be predetermined or a path to be found by oneself? That's my question to you.
So thank you, Prabhu. So that's where we take shelter of Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. Right? That example that is given is, you have to go from point A to point B. You plug it in Google Maps, and then you trust Google Maps. It says take this process. It might say that take a detour over here, but you follow the process that is given. So in the Bhagavad Gita, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the scriptures, the process has been clearly articulated. Now you're right, there are variations in the process, but the variations have also been articulated. So Kritya Dhyayate Vishnu Treta Yajate Maka Dwapare Paricharya Ram Kaluta Dhari Kirtana. That if we were in the Satyug, then Kritya Dhyayate Vishnu. Then the process that was given to us was meditation. That you spend, like Vishwamitra, 60,000, 100,000 years meditating. Treta Yajate Maka. In Treta, the process was performing elaborate yagyas. So the yagyas required people were expert in the chanting of mantras, lot of paraphernalia, and extensive preparation. Then Dwapare Paricharyaya. In the Dwapar Yuga, the process that was given was temple worship, elaborate deity worship. Like we see in we see remnants of that in Rameshwaram, in Jagannath Puri. We see remnants of that. But when they were there, very, very elaborate deity worship. So that's how everybody made advancements. That their lives were centered around the temple. That was their center for their spiritual homes. And Kalautadhari Kirtana. In this age of Kali, the process that is given to us is the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And this has been validated by Lord Brahma in the Kali Sanatana Upanishad, where Narad Muni asks Brahma that the people in this age of Kali, they will be very sinful by nature, and religiosity would have almost disappeared. So then, is there any hope for them? And then Lord Brahma, he chants the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. He says, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Ram, Hare Hare, Iti Shodashkam Namanam Kali Kalantram Nashanam Nath Paratropaya Sarvavedeshe Drishitu. So Lord Brahma says, after scrutinizing, studying the entire Veda, Sarvavedeshe Drishitu, the path for emancipation for this age of Kali is Iti Shodashkam Namana. That this mantra, which has 16 names, is Kali Kalantram Nashanam, will completely destroy all the inauspiciousness in this age of Kali. Similarly, at the end of Bhagavatam, this is what Sukadev Goswami says. He says that, what's that verse? Kalera, thank you, Prabhu. Kalera dosha nidhe rajan astya ek mahaguna kirtana deva krishnasya sarva mukta param rajet. That Kalera dosh nidhe rajan. He says, O king, this age of Kali is full of doshas. Astya ek mahaguna. But there is one point of great redemption. Kirtana deva krishnasya. Simply by chanting Krishna's name, that one gets param rajet. One reaches the highest destination. And similarly, there are many scriptures, scriptural injunctions that are given in the Padma Puran, in the Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. So the destination is given, the process is given, the starting point we are intimately aware of, where we are. We just need the determination to embark on that process.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I have a question, Prabhuji. One question is sometimes when we go and meet devotees in the temple, they appear very peaceful, and some devotees, they are pakka with their sadhana, and some people, they are in the process of their progress. They might not be doing all 16, before going office, but still they do their sadhana, but they appear very peaceful and calm. For me, if I think that, I always feel that, I'm not doing what, I'm still seeing n number of places where I am wasting my time and other things. Hankering is there, but how do we get that, that peace of mind? Because when they are not doing 16 also, they appear peaceful. Now also they appear peaceful. The state of mind, how to achieve that? And also many times I make, determined I should do these things. I make a note of it, list of it, but the list grows, but the determination is not staying. Sometimes, I may be inspired to hear something, but after a few days, because daily hearing classes and all is there, but what we are determined also I forget, and suddenly I recollect, oh, I have to do that also, like that. So how our determination should grow very strong, and determination and discrimination, and also how we should be peaceful, because this is a journey. Like we can never be perfect, but we shouldn't feel that I am not doing so well, kind of always.
So thank you. Both very good questions. So I'll take the easier one first.
Prabhuji,
Yeah. Who was it?
sorry.
That was Aradhana.
Oh, Hare Krishna, Aradhana.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, sorry I interrupted you. I want to make a point, but first you can answer Ravi Prabhu's question, then I can.
So you wanted to make a point for Ravi Prabhu's question? Please go ahead.
No, in general.
In general, okay.
I want to share, yeah.
Sure, okay.
Radha, can you show yourself if you don't mind?
So, so one of the things that you were saying, how can you be peaceful? It's so things like how can you be happy, how can you be peaceful? They are the result of something. You cannot be that, right? You can become that. You cannot be that, right? You know that you cannot will yourself saying that from tomorrow onwards I will be peaceful, because being peaceful is a byproduct of many other things that have to come and play. When those things are in play, then even if you try not to be peaceful, it's not going to happen, because the causes are over there. So how to be peaceful is by understanding what makes a person peaceful, and then by cultivating that. In terms of you're saying that the determination part of the question. So there is like a phrase in English like which kind of corresponds to searching under the light. You know, what it means is that you're in a street and there is one light over there, and then you drop a coin at the other end of the street. But human nature is that you will go under the light and search for the coin. So it's basically doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting different results. Right? If you don't do the same, if you do one thing and you get result, if you do the same thing again, then you'll get the same result. Right? If you do it the third time, you'll still get the same result. Sometimes when we lose our keys or we misplace our keys, then what do? You know, like I keep my keys generally in the drawer. Sometimes I forget, it's not there in the drawer, but I will go to the drawer 4 times and open it and check it. The first time I opened it, I knew the keys was not there. But then I'll go back again. I look around here and there. Then I'll go again to the drawer. Then I'll look again. Right? Just the sense of the familiarity of the solution. The solution is that my key is in the drawer. The first time around I knew that that solution doesn't work, but still doing that. So without going into too much details, if what you are doing is not working, then you must find out what needs to be done. Right? And that becomes your approach. If writing things on a list is not working, then what else could work? Different devotees do different things. Sometimes people, they share their sankalp with others. So they hold themselves accountable to others. You know, sometimes and this was a point that you made earlier, that sometimes simply by associating with those who are more determined, you will also be able to acquire that habit. Right? So there are different ways that you can do depending on your swabhav and circumstance. But the idea is to But the idea is to look outwards then, as opposed to doing the same thing over and over. Okay, Aradhna? I think we're running out of time, so I'll just hear what Aradhna says and then we have to do our chanting. Yeah.
Yes, Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So I just want to make a point. When we came to KC, Krishna consciousness, when we joined, so you told about the position of Krishna, Lord Krishna, and then you told what are the activity needed to achieve the golden spiritual life. So that's how I have complete faith, like we have complete faith and no doubts about anything, about any other gods or anything. So just we started practicing. And one more thing, I recently, not recently, like 2-3 months ago when I went for Vipassana meditation. So there they give only the lunch and no food after lunch. Means in the evening you can just have fruits or tea. I don't drink tea, but whoever drinks tea and the fruits. So in that thing there I learned not to eat food in the night. So we take like only salad in the night. After lunch we don't eat food. So it is also helping me to getting up in the morning and do chanting. You don't feel heavy and all this, and it's good. And when I came from there, I feel like I was confused because they taught us to do meditation in the morning, like early Brahmut kind of morning. But initially I was doing meditation, then chanting 1 month. Then again my mind said, no, first we have to pray the Lord. Means our culture we say कहते हैं ना कुछ भी काम शुरू करने के पहले you have to pray the Lord. So then I switched and then I started the chanting first and then meditation, then other things. So that's the one point I want to make. Like eating, like I saw Ramapata Swami when Maharaj, when he came to your house, he used to take soup in the night. So food is also very important to getting up in the morning. And
Yeah, you're right. Thank you. It's basically being deliberate about what needs to be done. So if you have to get up in the morning, then you have to plan the day before, and and then the cycle continues. So thank you very much for chanting. Srila Prabhupada ki for sharing. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. We have do we have some children for nursing their prayer recitation?
I don't see either this one, what's her, Zoe or Priya's kids. So I don't know if Divyansh is there or Honora.
What about Rishabh and Krishabh?
Where's Rishabh? Who?
Rajneesh Prabhu's.
Oh, Krishna. Yeah, those kids are there too, right? Where are they? Let's have the 3 Ks sing. Where are the 3 Ks?
I see Shivani.
Yeah, but she's not there.
Okay.
Okay, maybe then Anora is online. Let's